There is a kind of wealth that cannot be earned, only aligned with. It's not written in your bank statement or predicted by your resume. It doesn't ask about your background, your network, or the digits in your account. This form of wealth doesn't measure effort. It measures frequency. Welcome to quantum wealth activation, a radical departure from everything you've been taught about money, abundance, and success. This isn't about chasing income goals or repeating affirmations into a mirror hoping the universe hears you. It's about stepping into the quantum framework that governs how reality unfolds, and learning how to position your consciousness with such precision that abundance has no choice but to resolve in your experience. Today, we are breaking the mold. You're not going to hear about manifestation hacks or tired mantras about believing in yourself. You've heard those before, and they didn't shift the grid underneath your reality. This conversation starts where pop spirituality ends. We're going to uncover a deeper, more intelligent architecture that shapes every experience in your life, including money. Here, you'll learn how consciousness interacts with probabilistic fields, how identity becomes the tuning mechanism for your outcomes, and why the idea of earning your wealth is obsolete when you understand how to resolve it through quantum alignment. This is for the thinkers, the builders, and the curious minds ready to transcend wishful thinking and engage with reality engineering. Because wealth in this space is not something you create out of thin air. It's not summoned. It's not attracted. It's chosen through alignment. It's matched through coherence. It's stabilized through conscious energetic signature. Throughout this journey, we'll explore 12 powerful frameworks, each designed to unlock a core component of what it means to activate wealth in the quantum field. You'll learn about resonance and probability, identity mechanics and wave function collapse, coherent signal states and microfrequency signaling, all of it directed toward one purpose: helping you rewire your mind, tune your state, and step into a reality where abundance becomes inevitable. Why is this so critical now? Because the old models are collapsing. The traditional route to success, grind, overwork, and scarcity-fueled striving, is breaking down. The collective nervous system is fried, and people are waking up to a new truth. Linear action alone is no longer enough. We are entering an age where self-awareness, energy mastery, and precision consciousness will be the new currency. Your inner frequency is your access key, and no amount of external effort can compensate for internal incoherence. This is the territory we're exploring today. You'll walk away with a powerful new framework for understanding abundance, not as something outside of you, but as a frequency pattern that responds to your identity and emotional geometry. You'll understand why struggle-based earning systems are rapidly becoming irrelevant in a quantum-aware paradigm, and how aligning your inner state with specific wealth timelines gives you direct access to those realities. This is not theory. It is physics. This is not hype. It's logic applied with consciousness. By the end of this experience, you will no longer see yourself as someone trying to get money. You will know yourself as someone who can resolve wealth into your timeline with clarity and precision. So if you're ready to stop treating abundance like a fantasy and start operating it like a code, keep going. You are standing at the gateway of a deeper system, one that doesn't ask for your hope, it demands your frequency. Next, we will explore the hidden layer beneath all abundance, the quantum wealth field, and where prosperity actually resides. There's a version of you who's already wealthy, not figuratively, literally. That version exists within the quantum field right now, as a real probabilistic outcome among infinite other possible versions of you. Some are broke, some are surviving, some are thriving in unimaginable ways. And none of these versions are fiction. They're all potential timelines, encoded into the field of probability. So the question is no longer, can I become wealthy? The real question is, are you aligning with the version of you who already is? Let's start with the foundation. The quantum field is not a metaphor. It's the underlying fabric of reality, a field of pure potential, where all outcomes exist simultaneously as probability waves. These waves don't form fixed realities until they are observed, collapsed, or engaged by consciousness. Meaning, Nothing is real until it is resolved through interaction. Wealth, success, opportunity, these are not fixed destinations. They are fluctuating probabilities waiting to be activated by coherence and choice. In classical thinking, wealth is a result of linear accumulation. Time, effort, education, opportunity. But that model fails to explain why two people with the same skills, education, and background can experience wildly different levels of financial success. That's because they're not operating in the same field frequency. One is resonating with scarcity. The other is attuned to abundance. And the field always mirrors the dominant frequency of your identity. To understand this, picture the quantum field as a radio spectrum. It's not that the station isn't playing. It's that you're not tuned into it. All possible outcomes are already present, but you only experience the station you're attuned to. This is why effort-based models fail when they're not aligned with frequency. You can work hard at 90.3 FM, but the wealth frequency might be broadcasting on 105.7. You're not going to hear it no matter how hard you try. The field doesn't reward effort, it rewards resonance. Resonance is the key. When your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and identity stabilize into coherence with a particular outcome, that outcome is no longer just possible, it becomes probable. And eventually, it becomes resolved as your lived experience. This is how outcomes show up seemingly out of nowhere. It's not magic. It's field mechanics. You don't chase abundance. You stabilize the pattern that matches it. Then the field does the rest. But this leads us to a deeper insight. Most people are not aware they are constantly tuning their field. Every thought you repeat, every belief you reinforce, every state you normalize, it all contributes to the frequency signature you're emitting. And that signal is what determines which probability field you're anchoring into. So the field is not responding to what you say you want. It's responding to what you are. Here's what that means. If your subconscious identity is structured around survival, scarcity, or lack, those are the patterns your consciousness is reinforcing into the field. And what's unresolved remains just that, potential, not reality. You might want wealth, but your inner signal keeps resolving timelines where money slips through your fingers, where unexpected bills show up, where clients ghost you, or your business stalls. It's not sabotage. The signal logic. The field isn't punishing you. It's perfectly mirroring the coherence or incoherence of your energetic blueprint. This is why desire alone isn't enough. Desire without congruence is noise. To activate a specific field of wealth, your internal signal must stabilize to the pattern that matches it. This involves more than thinking differently. It involves recoding your identity architecture to emit a new base frequency. And when you achieve this, the wealth version of you that already exists becomes accessible, not as a concept, but as a real, observable state. So where does abundance actually reside? Not in your job, not in your economy, not in your bank app. It resides in the probabilistic field that surrounds your consciousness at all times. Just outside your current identity signature. The moment your inner frequency pattern locks into harmony with that version of you, the field resolves. It doesn't wait. It doesn't hesitate. It simply mirrors. This is the foundation of quantum wealth activation. You're not working toward abundance. You're selecting it through frequency alignment. Every thought, belief, and emotional pattern you repeat is a form of tuning, which means your current reality is not your fate. It's just your frequency, and frequencies can be tuned. Next, we will explore the energetic blueprint of money itself, and uncover whether you are unconsciously repelling or resonating with the wealth that's already trying to reach you. There's a reason wealth seems easy for some and impossible for others, even when they're playing the same game. It isn't luck. It isn't hard work. It's alignment, more specifically. It's alignment with the quantum field that contains all possible realities, including the one where you are financially free, sovereign, and abundantly resourced. Let's make this crystal clear. The quantum field is not some distant concept reserved for theoretical physics. It is the living infrastructure of your daily life. Every outcome you've ever experienced has been resolved from it. This field is a matrix of probability, not certainty. It contains infinite variations of you, each living out different financial realities based on different energetic inputs. It doesn't decide for you. It reflects you. Whatever you stabilize in thought, feeling, and belief is what gets mirrored back into your life as experience. Your current reality is a resolved probability. It's not your limit. It's your signal made visible. Abundance exists inside this field not as an abstract concept, but as an already coded version of your timeline. The question is not whether that version of you is real. It is. The only question is whether you are in resonance with it. Most people never engage with this truth because they are trapped in cause and effect thinking. They assume wealth is a result of actions. Get a better job, launch a new business, invest more, save harder. While these actions matter, they are downstream from the core determinant, frequency. The quantum field doesn't prioritize your effort, prioritizes your signal. This is not metaphor. It's literal. The energetic patterns you maintain, what you feel consistently, believe subconsciously, and identify with personally, emit a vibrational blueprint. That blueprint collapses one of infinite potentialities into physical reality. Here's the trap. If you're broadcasting lack, the field isn't going to send you more resources just because you work harder. It will resolve timelines that continue to mirror that internal lack. You're not being punished. You're being mirrored. The law is neutral. The field doesn't care what you want. It reflects what you are. This is the first principle of wealth activation. You must become the frequency of the version of you who already has what you're seeking. Because in the quantum field, you're not earning abundance, you're selecting it. You're not pulling wealth toward you as if it's somewhere else. You're aligning with the version of you who is already existing in that state and letting the field resolve that reality into experience. To do that, you have to upgrade your understanding of identity. Most people think identity is fixed. I am who I am. But in quantum terms, identity is a frequency filter. It's a pattern of consistent energetic emissions that inform which timeline you land on. Identity is the blueprint that collapses probability into reality. Change your identity, and you recode the field. But let's be clear, this isn't about positive thinking or mood manipulation. You can't fake your frequency. The field reads coherence, not affirmations. It doesn't care what you say you believe. It responds to what your energetic system is actually broadcasting consistently and congruently. If you're saying, I am abundant, but your subconscious is still wired for survival, that incongruence fractures your signal. The result? Distorted timelines, false starts, mixed results. The field mirrors your core signal, not your surface story. And your signal isn't just mental, it's emotional, physiological, and behavioral. It's encoded into how you hold your body, how you speak, how you make decisions. It's not an idea, it's a frequency pattern. So how do you shift into alignment with the version of you who already has the wealth? First, stop chasing outcomes and start stabilizing the state that corresponds to them. Abundance isn't an outcome. It's a state. When you normalize that state internally, the field has no choice but to reflect that normalization back into your lived reality. Second, deconstruct the identity architecture that keeps you locked into timelines of scarcity or mediocrity. These are not reflections of your potential. They are reflections of outdated signal states you have yet to rewire. Third, understand that the field responds instantly, but resolution into form can appear gradual. This is not because the field is slow. It's because your signal is often fluctuating. Consistency accelerates resolution. Noise delays it. The more stable your frequency, the faster the timeline collapse. And that's the real currency in the quantum wealth field, stability. When you become so internally coherent that your signal no longer flickers between lack and possibility, the field locks in. Abundance becomes not just probable, it becomes dominant. Let's go deeper. Money, opportunity, support, and success are not things you hunt. They're reflections of a frequency already encoded within you. If you haven't accessed them yet, it's not because they're not available. It's because your internal tuner is locked onto a different station. It's like trying to listen to classical music on a static-filled punk rock frequency. The symphony exists, but not on the channel you're tuned into. Your job is to tune your system. The shift happens when you stop asking, "How do I get more?" and start asking, "What pattern am I broadcasting?" Because the field doesn't send what you ask for. It resolves what you are. This is why the wealthiest individuals on Earth often operate from a state of knowing rather than needing. Their signal is clean. Their identity is congruent with receiving. They aren't wishing. They're stabilizing. You don't earn the right to abundance. You resonate with it. And that resonance is never accidental. It's cultivated. Every time you notice lack and shift your emotional signal toward sufficiency, you strengthen your frequency. Every time you disrupt a poverty-based belief system and normalize a high-trust one, you reinforce your channel. Every time you act from your wealthy identity, even before external proof, you condition your field. The quantum wealth field doesn't need to be convinced. It needs to be matched. And matching happens at the level of state. Not action. Not effort. Not luck. State. That's the point of access. That's the rewire. That's where all abundance begins. Next, we will address the true nature of money and uncover whether your current state is amplifying it or pushing it away. Money is not a thing. It's a signal. It's not inherently good or bad. It's not moral or immoral. It's not generous or greedy. It's a neutral amplifier, tuned entirely to frequency and coherence. So here's the real question. Are you resonating with it or repelling it? Let's demystify it. Money is an energetic construct that responds to clarity, trust, and precision. In quantum terms, it's an extension of the field's intelligence, an encoded response to the vibration you emit regarding value, receptivity, and flow. Most people think money is earned through labor, but energetically, that's just one possible method of receiving. The real determinant isn't what you do. It's the signal state from which you operate. That signal is being broadcast 24/7 through your nervous system, your belief patterns, your self-concept, and your felt sense of safety around receiving. So when you say you want more money, the field doesn't check your goals. It checks your alignment. If your emotional body is sending out signals of contraction, fear, guilt, or resistance around money, then the field mirrors that dissonance. You might get money temporarily, but it slips away. Or you never reach the levels you want because your signal doesn't match the flow. This is why so many talented, hardworking people remain stuck financially. They're trying to earn money from a state of resistance to money. And that contradiction blocks reception. Money flows through resonance, not struggle. So let's ask again. Are you resonating or repelling? Resonance with money looks like this. You trust it. You enjoy it. You allow it. You use it with clarity. You receive it without guilt. You release it without panic. Repelling money looks like this. You stress about it. You obsess over not having enough. You feel guilt when you receive it. You associate it with loss, risk, or shame. You spend it from anxiety. You hold onto it from fear. These patterns are not neutral, they are frequencies. And the quantum field mirrors them with ruthless precision. Let's go deeper. The nervous system plays a massive role in wealth resonance. If your system equates money with stress, unpredictability, or danger, you will unconsciously sabotage your ability to hold or grow it. Not because you're broken, but because your system is protecting you from what it perceives as unsafe. This is why affirmations alone are useless. If your body is in fight or flight every time you log into your bank account, no amount of abundance mindset will shift your field. You must teach your system that money is safe. Safety creates coherence. Coherence creates receptivity. Receptivity unlocks flow. And flow is the natural state of money. The universe isn't withholding anything from you. It's simply reflecting your readiness to receive. So how do you shift from repelling to resonating? Start with awareness. Audit your thoughts, language, and behavior around money. Notice what patterns emerge when you think about bills, income, pricing, or investing. Do you feel contraction or expansion? Do you brace yourself for disappointment? Or are you genuinely open to receiving? These subtle cues are massive indicators of your signal state. Next, repattern your emotional associations. Begin practicing elevated emotional states when engaging with money, even in small ways. Feel gratitude as you pay a bill. Smile when you receive an unexpected discount. Anchor positive energy to every financial interaction. This trains your system to associate money with safety and flow. Then, adjust your decisions to reflect trust. When you make financial decisions from fear, you reinforce scarcity. When you make them from grounded confidence, you reinforce wealth frequency, even if the amount is small. Energetically, intention matters more than scale. So spend, give, and receive from a place of alignment, not panic. Another key point: your value perception directly influences your money signal. If you constantly underprice yourself, reject compliments, or question your worth, you are telling the field that you are not a match for receiving fully. And the field listens. To resonate with money, you must normalize being valuable. Not through arrogance, but through clear recognition of what you bring to the world. Money doesn't reward modesty. It rewards energetic congruence. When your internal value perception rises, your external wealth patterns follow. Lastly, remember this: your relationship with money is just a mirror of your relationship with self. If you don't trust yourself to hold, manage, and use money wisely, the field will reflect that back. The shift begins when you stop treating money like a goal and start treating it like a partner. It's not something to conquer. It's something to harmonize with. And that harmony starts in your nervous system, your emotions, your decisions, and your identity. Money is already listening. Your signal is already speaking. The only question is, what is it saying? Next, we will reveal how your core identity collapses potential timelines, and how to train it to resolve wealth into your reality with surgical precision. You don't get what you want. You get what your identity can sustain. Not in theory. In quantum law, the moment you observe a possibility with coherence and alignment, you collapse it into form. That's not philosophy. That's physics. And your identity, the deep, often hidden configuration of how you perceive yourself, acts as the resolution mechanism that determines which possibilities in the quantum field become actual experiences. The field holds everything: abundance, poverty, massive success, chronic frustration, breakthroughs, setbacks. It's all there, encoded as potential. Your identity is the instrument that tunes into a particular signal and makes it real. Let's bring this into sharp focus. In quantum mechanics, wave function collapse refers to the process by which a cloud of probabilities becomes a single, observable state. Before observation, everything exists in superposition. All possible outcomes exist simultaneously. But the moment an observer enters the scene and interacts with the system, the wave collapses into one reality. That observer is you. And in the context of wealth, that collapse happens not just when you think or visualize, but when you embody a specific frequency long enough for the field to stabilize around it. Identity is the stabilizer. Your outer world is not being generated by your to-do list. It's being structured by the blueprint your identity carries. Now pause and let that land. Most people never examine the architecture of their identity. They chase results without realizing they're doing so from an operating system that is incapable of sustaining the outcomes they seek. It's like trying to run advanced software on a system designed for survival mode. The code isn't compatible. If your core identity is still rooted in fear, inadequacy, or proving your worth, then even if you manage to generate more money, your system will collapse it. That collapse doesn't happen by accident. It's a perfect match to the inner template you're carrying. The field is not biased. It's precise. So you must understand, identity is not who you are. It's who you think you are consistently. And what you think you are is not static, it's programmable. But most identity structures are inherited, not chosen. You didn't consciously design your earliest beliefs about wealth, self-worth, or capability. They were absorbed through family dynamics, cultural narratives, economic conditions. They became part of your baseline signal. That signal was then reinforced until it became identity. And once something becomes identity, it no longer feels like a thought. Feels like truth. This is the trap. You might be affirming abundance, but if your subconscious identity still says, "I'm not safe with money," "I always have to struggle," or "success isn't for people like me," the field will collapse those timelines instead. Not because you're unlucky, but because your signal is fractured. The wave collapses into the timeline that matches the most consistent identity frequency. Not the loudest one, not the newest one, the most stabilized one. So how do you shift this? You must reprogram identity at the source. This isn't about repeating mantras or forcing positive thinking. You can't override identity with willpower. You rewire it through frequency and embodiment. Step 1 is identification. You must expose the identity program you're currently operating from. What are your automatic assumptions about wealth? When you think about having more money, what emotions come up? Do you expect ease or sabotage? Growth or rejection? Your answers reveal the identity operating system beneath your surface intentions. Next, you replace the signal, not the symptom. Most people try to fix behaviors without upgrading the source code. But behaviors are downstream of identity. You can't outact a self-concept that's wired for limitation. Instead, begin holding the emotional state of your next-level identity as if it's already real. Not as fantasy, as fact. Hold it not in imagination, but in your nervous system. That means normalizing safety in abundance. Normalizing trust in receiving. Normalizing the idea that large amounts of money can flow into your life without chaos. When that emotional state stabilizes, the field takes notice. Your observation collapses the probability into experience. But the field waits for consistency. One empowered moment won't override a lifetime of scarcity programming. But sustained alignment reconfigures the entire system. The next step is congruent action. Identity is not just energetic, it's behavioral. The actions you take must reinforce the version of you who is already aligned with wealth. If you say, I am abundant, but undercharge, self-sabotage, or avoid financial responsibility, your field picks up the contradiction. The signal breaks. The wave reverts to prior configurations. But if your behavior aligns, if you speak, act, and decide from the version of you who is already successful, your field begins resolving those outcomes into your timeline. This is not pretending. It's precision. You're not acting as if. You're acting from the reality of who you truly are, without the noise of your old programming. Now let's talk about reinforcement. Identity can only change permanently through repetition and emotion. That's because the subconscious is not logical, it's experiential. The more often you reinforce your new identity with elevated states, gratitude, clarity, sufficiency, the faster it imprints. Add repetition, and your brain begins rewiring its default patterns. Add emotion, and the rewiring sticks. This is neuroplasticity aligned with quantum congruence. And that congruence becomes your magnet. Over time, your identity no longer requires effort to maintain. It becomes your new baseline, and the field calibrates around it. This is how reality changes. Not from hustle, not from desperation, not from bypassing your nervous system, but from choosing the version of you that's already encoded into the quantum field and matching it with clarity, trust, and coherence. Next, we will expose the illusion of manifestation and why most spiritual teachings fall apart when it comes to results. If vision boards worked the way people claimed, everyone would be wealthy. If affirmations alone could rewire your financial trajectory, we'd all be walking around with limitless abundance. But that's not how the field responds. And here's the truth no one wants to admit. Most manifestation teachings are incomplete, outdated, or entirely misunderstood. They sell the promise of creating your dream life through belief and intention. But they skip over the mechanics of how intention becomes structure in the field. Here's the core problem. They treat the universe like a vending machine. Think positive, visualize success, feel good, and the universe will deliver. It sounds empowering, but it's an illusion if it doesn't account for the architecture of your subconscious identity and the coherence of your signal. You can visualize money every morning and still live in financial chaos, because the quantum field does not respond to images. It responds to frequency. Frequency is not imagination. It is emotion, behavior, and embodiment held in repetition. Most people trying to manifest are doing so from a place of lack. They visualize what they want while feeling the absence of it. The emotional signature of their practice is rooted in needing, not having. The field mirrors the lack, not the vision. This creates a loop of frustration. You keep trying to attract the outcome, but you're reinforcing the signal of it being separate from you. That separation becomes your timeline. Manifestation, in the traditional sense, encourages you to send a message to the universe. But the quantum field doesn't respond to messages. It responds to structure. It doesn't need your vision board. It needs your coherence. Let's redefine what actually works. True outcome alignment happens when intention is backed by embodiment. Embodiment means your nervous system, subconscious mind, emotions, and behaviors all agree that what you seek is already part of your now. No reaching, no waiting, no hoping, only aligning. This is why isolated visualization doesn't work for most people. It temporarily activates your imagination, but does nothing to rewire your identity, emotional baseline, or signal frequency. If anything, it amplifies the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that gap becomes the dominant vibration. That's what the field resolves. So instead of focusing on images, focus on integration. Ask yourself, what version of me would already have this result? What would they believe about reality? What emotions would they normalize? How would they hold themselves? How would they respond to uncertainty? This is not a fantasy exercise. This is signal engineering. When your identity, emotions, and behaviors begin matching that version, even incrementally, the gap closes. The field responds with mirrored conditions. Not because you manifested it, but because you became it. Here's another trap: outcome obsession. Many manifestation methods encourage hyperfocus on the end result. But this can create subtle pressure and energetic grasping. That pressure distorts your field. The real art is to set intention, align identity, and release attachment. The release is not passive. It's trust in the field's intelligence. Once you align, you don't need to obsess. You calibrate. You stay steady. You let the wave collapse. Most importantly, you stop chasing timelines that don't match your signal. You stop leaking energy into wishful thinking and start rooting into embodied coherence. The field is not slow. Your consistency is. If you keep changing your signal, abundant one day, anxious the next, the field keeps collapsing inconsistent timelines. You get hot and cold results. That's not manifestation failure. That's feedback. The goal is stabilization. When your signal is stable, the timeline locks in. You don't need to control the how or the when. The field resolves probabilities based on coherence, not schedules. And when you're coherent, you no longer care about speed. You trust inevitability. That's true wealth alignment. So leave behind the rituals that don't serve. Replace them with structure. Replace fantasy with frequency. You are not manifesting. You are selecting. And the version of you who already has it? They're not trying. They're not waiting. They're resolved. Next, we will explore the powerful science of neural rewiring and how to sculpt a brain that reflects your highest wealth frequency. Your brain is not a record of the past. It's a map of the future. At every moment, it's receiving, interpreting, and broadcasting signals to the quantum field based on one question. Who am I now? Neural pathways determine that answer more than you realize. Wealth isn't just about energy. It's also about structure. And the structure of your thoughts, the literal architecture of your neural network, is one of the strongest indicators of what your quantum field resolves into your life. Let's be direct. If your brain is wired for scarcity, it doesn't matter how many books you read on abundance. Your signal will still match your circuitry, and the field will deliver accordingly. So here's the truth you must integrate now. Abundance doesn't start with action. It starts with architecture. If you don't rewire the structure of your mind, you'll always regress to your default patterns, no matter how inspired you feel in the moment. That regression is not weakness. It's programming. The brain is designed to conserve energy, automate thought, and recycle emotional patterns that feel familiar, which means your dominant thoughts about money, safety, success, and identity have probably been looping for years, maybe decades. These loops form neural clusters, groups of cells that fire together every time a similar emotional or environmental trigger occurs. These clusters define your self-concept, your beliefs, your emotional responses, your expectations. If you grew up around financial instability, you likely developed neural circuits that associate money with chaos, unpredictability, or fear. Those circuits don't change just because you read something new. They change through neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself in response to new, repeated experiences. Repetition is key. The field doesn't respond to flashes of insight. It responds to stabilized identity. To stabilize, you need to train your brain consistently to recognize new emotional states as normal. Only then do your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors shift toward resonance with your future self. Here's where most people get stuck. They try to force new thoughts without addressing the emotional chemistry that supports their old ones. But emotion is the glue that holds neural circuits in place. Thoughts repeated without emotional charge don't stick. They bounce off the nervous system. That's why affirmations without embodiment fail. The words may be powerful, but if the body doesn't believe them, the brain discards them. You're not just rewiring thoughts. You're rewiring identity states. So how does this happen in practice? First, identify the dominant thought loops that are keeping your neural system in scarcity. These thoughts often sound like, "It's hard to make money. No one pays what I'm worth. I always have to hustle to survive. Wealthy people are selfish. Something always goes wrong when things are good." These thoughts aren't random. They're scripts your nervous system has accepted as safe because they're familiar. But familiar doesn't mean true. It means coded. Your job is to break the code. Start by interrupting the loop. Every time you catch a scarcity thought, label it pattern, not truth. This removes emotional authority from the thought. It weakens the signal. It tells the brain, this is not required anymore. Next, override the loop with a new neural instruction, but not just with words. Use emotional pairing. Here's how. Choose a thought that matches your desired identity. I am fully supported by life, or money flows to me in aligned ways. Pair it with a strong elevated emotion, like gratitude, confidence, or calm certainty. Hold that pairing for 60 to 90 seconds, letting your entire system feel it as if it's already real. That combination, thought plus elevated state, creates new synaptic connections. And with repetition, those connections become neural pathways. Do this 3 to 5 times a day. It might feel artificial at first. That's normal. You're sculpting new architecture. Your current brain doesn't recognize this as safe or familiar yet. But as you repeat it, your system begins to adapt. The old pathways weaken. The new ones strengthen. This is brain change. And brain change equals frequency change. But don't stop at the mental level. Your body also holds neural memory. Scarcity is stored in your posture, breath, and muscle tone. It's a full body pattern. If you want to fully rewire, you must shift your physical patterns too. That means practicing a wealthy posture. Upright spine, deep breath, open chest, calm expression. It means breathing deeply into the belly, signaling the nervous system that it's safe to receive. It means pausing before reacting to money triggers, letting your new identity speak instead of your old trauma. Every small shift reinforces the new circuitry, and every moment of reinforcement sharpens your frequency. This isn't conceptual. This is measurable. Studies in neuroplasticity show that the brain begins physically changing after just days of consistent mental rehearsal paired with emotional intensity. That change becomes your new signal, and the quantum field begins collapsing wealth timelines around it. One more key: environmental reinforcement. Your surroundings are mirrors. If you want to stabilize your rewired identity, place yourself in environments that reflect it. That doesn't mean luxury. It means order, clarity, expansion. Design your space digitally and physically to confirm your new wealth identity. Visual cues reinforce your neural patterning. Every time you look around and see alignment, the brain receives the message. This is who we are now. And the field agrees. Wealth becomes predictable when your nervous system normalizes it. Until then, it will always feel like a struggle or a surprise. So train your brain to expect it. Train your body to allow it. Train your life to support it. Next, we will transform your emotional code, turning lack-based reactions into high-value emotional signals that amplify your wealth frequency. There's a powerful secret most people miss when trying to attract wealth. Emotions are not just reactions. They're transmissions. Every emotion you feel emits a signal into the quantum field, one that either aligns with abundance or distorts it. And here's the twist. The emotions you avoid the most, fear, shame, anger, guilt, are the exact signals holding your wealth timeline hostage. These emotions aren't the enemy. They're energy in motion, and when ignored, they stagnate your signal. But when transmuted, they become high-frequency fuel. Let's make this practical. You've been taught to manage emotions, maybe suppress them, maybe stay positive. But management is not mastery. Emotional alchemy is mastery. It's the art of converting heavy, distorted signals into coherent, wealth-aligned frequencies. To do that, you must understand this truth. No emotion is inherently wrong. Every emotion is a messenger. Every feeling is an instruction set for what frequency your field is currently tuning into. If you ignore the message, the frequency persists. If you decode the message, the frequency transforms. Here's an example. Let's say you feel anxiety when checking your bank balance. That anxiety isn't just a nuisance. It's feedback. It tells you that your current identity doesn't feel safe with financial truth. You can ignore it, or you can alchemize it. Step 1 is awareness without resistance. Sit with the emotion fully. Don't label it good or bad. Just feel it. Breathe through it. Let your system speak. Step 2 is decoding. Ask, what is this emotion telling me I believe about money right now? Maybe it's, I believe I'm failing, or I believe money disappears too fast. Once you find the belief, you can challenge it not logically but emotionally. Step 3 is transmutation. Invite in a new emotional state, not by force but by focus. What emotion would the wealthy version of you feel in this exact situation? Calm clarity, empowerment, neutral trust? Summon that feeling. Let it move through your body. Anchor it with breath and posture. That shift is not superficial. It's quantum. You've just overridden a scarcity signature and replaced it with an abundance frequency. Now multiply that across your day. Every emotional trigger becomes an opportunity to reprogram the field. Fear becomes focus. Guilt becomes growth. Anger becomes action. Shame becomes sovereignty. This doesn't mean you get rid of negative emotions. It means you stop being afraid of them. You start using them. Emotion is energy. Energy is signal. Signal is code. Code is reality. If your emotions are unprocessed, they keep signaling distortion. If your emotions are transmuted, they start signaling coherence. Let's apply this to decision-making. Many people make financial decisions from avoidance. Fear of judgment, fear of loss, fear of risk. Those emotions contaminate the decision. The outcome may still appear logical, but the signal behind it is incoherent. And the field responds to the signal, not the spreadsheet. True wealth decisions come from centered emotion. Trust, clarity, sufficiency. To get there, you must practice emotional regulation. This is different from emotional suppression. Regulation means noticing the emotion, honoring it, and then consciously shifting into a higher signal before acting. That may take 2 minutes or 20, but the discipline transforms your field. Let's take it deeper. Certain emotions have a compounding effect on your wealth field. These are what we call amplifier emotions. They include gratitude, sends a signal of already having, which collapses abundance timelines faster than any other emotion. Certainty, not arrogance, but embodied knowing. It reinforces coherence and stability. Sufficiency, the inner sense that this moment is enough. This eliminates resistance and opens flow. Generosity, a signal that you trust the replenishment of energy, which activates the law of return. The more you normalize these states, not as performance but as default, the more your field begins recalibrating your material world to reflect them. But don't fake these emotions. Cultivate them. You do this by training your attention. Focus creates feeling. When you place your awareness on sufficiency, gratitude, trust, you generate the state. That state trains your nervous system. That nervous system emits your wealth frequency. Over time, that frequency becomes your dominant broadcast. And the quantum field delivers matching results. Automatically. One final piece. Emotional congruence. You can't say, "I am abundant," while feeling resentful every time you spend. That incongruence splits your signal. Mixed signals create distorted timelines. You don't need perfect emotions. You need honest ones, stable ones, intentional ones. And when emotions wobble, you don't panic. You regulate. You recenter. You return to your chosen frequency. Wealth is not held by perfect people. It's held by stable ones. And stability is emotional discipline, refined through conscious alchemy. Next, we will explore the dynamics of timeline selection and how to align your daily decisions with the version of you who already has everything you've been asking the universe for. There's not just one version of you moving through time. There are infinite versions, each already encoded in the quantum field. Each one living a different reality. Some are stagnant. Some are growing slowly. Others are thriving beyond anything your current identity can imagine. This isn't philosophy. This is probability logic at scale. The field holds them all. You are not becoming anything. You are selecting. Every thought, every emotion, every micro-behavior is a vote. Not just for what you want, but for who you're choosing to be. You aren't creating reality. You're tuning into one of countless pre-existing timelines, each one branching from the core of your current frequency signature. This is the mechanism of timeline selection. So now ask yourself, what version of you are you stabilizing right now? The version who delays, doubts, and repeats old loops? Or the version who acts, aligns, and integrates wealth with confidence and ease? Here's the truth. The wealthy version of you already exists. Fully, tangibly, resourced, supported, aligned. They are not waiting to be discovered. They are already resolved in the quantum field. The only thing separating you from them is coherence. Let's get specific. Every decision you make anchors you more deeply into a timeline. Some decisions reinforce your current state. Others redirect you into new configurations of identity and result. But not all decisions are equal. There are moments when your field reaches a point of energetic bifurcation, a split, a fork where one decision sends you toward a new path and the other reaffirms the old. This is what we call a pivot point. Pivot points don't announce themselves. They arrive silently, hidden in seemingly small choices. Do you raise your rates or shrink back into self-doubt? Do you invest in the program, tool, or training that stretches your identity? Do you speak with clarity and power, or wait for external permission? These moments are not about strategy. They're about frequency calibration. When you make a decision from your current self, you anchor your current timeline. When you make a decision from your future self, the wealthy version of you, you jump. This is how quantum identity translation works. It's not about changing who you are over time. It's about shifting who you're being now, so the timeline matching that frequency becomes your new track. But this requires energetic precision. You can't simply think like your future self. You must act as them. You must feel as them. You must move through the world in a way that creates vibrational agreement with their frequency. And that requires consistency. Inconsistency signals confusion. Confusion scrambles the field. The result? Mixed results, stalled progress, flickers of abundance followed by regression. Your field is not confused, just waiting for clarity. When your identity stabilizes into a new mode of being, the field locks the corresponding timeline into place. So how do you choose the timeline of the wealth you? Step 1. Define that version with precision. Get specific. What do they believe about money? How do they handle risk? What's their emotional baseline? What standards do they hold? What do they no longer tolerate? Write it, speak it, encode it. Step 2. Identify what anchors you to your current timeline. This includes repetitive emotional states rooted in fear or doubt, habits that confirm low self-worth, environments that reflect scarcity, conversations that drain your frequency, decisions made from avoidance rather than alignment. Each of these is a tether. They are subtle reinforcements of the very identity you say you want to evolve from. You cannot access a new timeline while dragging the energetic baggage of the old one. Step 3. Replace anchors with activators. Activators are decisions, behaviors, and beliefs that match the frequency of the version of you already living in abundance. Examples: taking bold aligned action even before you feel ready, speaking with authority even when the room doubts you, normalizing the emotional state of sufficiency even without external proof, holding your boundaries with calm clarity, celebrating small signals of wealth as evidence that the new timeline is stabilizing. Each activator sends a signal: I'm already here, and the field mirrors that claim. Now here's what most people miss. Timeline selection is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Every day you're broadcasting a vote with your behavior. You're either reinforcing the current path or switching to another. And the switching isn't always dramatic. It's usually quiet, subtle, almost invisible. But over time, these micro-decisions compound into full identity shifts. This is how the quantum jump actually works. Not through magic. Through repetition, resonance, and reinforced behavior aligned with a chosen version of you. This jump isn't about being perfect. It's about being precise. So the question is not, how do I get there? It's, what am I normalizing now? Normalize the identity that matches your wealthy timeline, and the jump becomes automatic. Next, we will explore how to hold this frequency stable, even when the external world offers chaos, doubt, or resistance. It's one thing to align with wealth. It's another to stay aligned when everything around you is shaking. Markets shift. Clients vanish. Unexpected bills hit. Friends project their fear. Doubt creeps in. Old habits whisper. And in those moments, most people fall out of signal. They panic. They contract. They revert to the identity they've spent months trying to rewire. Not because they lack commitment, but because they lack resonance lock. Resonance lock is the state of energetic stability where your frequency holds, regardless of the noise around you. It's not rigidity. It's precision under pressure. Let's decode it. Your field is constantly absorbing data, external and internal. And every piece of that data either reinforces or destabilizes your frequency. When your system is coherent, meaning your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, the field reflects that coherence with rapid outcome stabilization. But coherence can be fragile if not reinforced. Without reinforcement, your signal collapses back into old loops the moment challenge arises. This collapse is not failure. It's feedback. It tells you that your current signal structure isn't strong enough yet to hold frequency through external chaos. So what strengthens the signal? 3 pillars. Commitment to identity over outcome. Most people link their frequency to results. They feel high when clients land or money flows or likes pour in. But when results slow down, so does their signal. That's a reactive system. Resonance lock begins when you flip the equation. You anchor in identity first, before results arrive. You commit to being the version of you who holds wealth, regardless of what the external shows. The result becomes inevitable because the identity is non-negotiable. Energetic autocorrection. When you notice your state shifting, tightening in fear, slipping into doubt, you don't spiral. You recalibrate, fast. The key is speed, not suppression. You acknowledge the wobble and shift back into alignment. This could mean a breathwork reset, a 90-second elevated emotion practice, a pattern interrupt walk, or a power decision that recenters your identity. The faster you correct, the less disruption you broadcast. You're not trying to avoid chaos. You're training your system to return to resonance faster than chaos can destabilize you. Frequency reinforcement rituals. These are daily practices that make your signal non-fragile. Reading content that reaffirms your quantum truth. Listening to aligned voices, not fear-based ones. Reviewing your identity code every morning. Speaking your truth into the field with clarity. Acting boldly from your next-level self, even in micro-decisions. These aren't checklists. They're signal stabilizers. Each one adds weight to your frequency. Each one tells the field, this is who I am now. This is what we're stabilizing. Let's take it further. Resonance lock also means you stop making meaning out of temporary noise. Just because you had a low-income month doesn't mean you're off path. Just because someone rejected your offer doesn't mean you're not valuable. Just because the external isn't responding instantly doesn't mean your signal isn't working. It means your field is still resolving. And your job is to hold, not wait. Hold. Hold the tone. Hold the belief. Hold the behavior. Hold the emotional posture. And in that holding, the field has time to catch up, to mirror, to stabilize. This isn't about force. It's about frequency trust. Because the field always responds to the most stable signal, not the most emotional one. If your signal is consistent through stress, pressure, and uncertainty, the outcomes begin to lock in. That's how legacy wealth is created. Not by reacting to life, but by becoming the tuning fork that life calibrates around. You are not here to chase timelines. You are here to radiate such consistent identity that reality reshapes itself to meet your tone. The world may shake. Let it. You stay stable. And the version of you who holds the resonance lock? They're not guessing. They're not hoping. They're not reactive. They are resolved. Next, we will refine how to instruct the field through every micro-behavior, turning even your smallest actions into powerful quantum wealth signals. Every action you take is a broadcast. It doesn't matter how small. The field doesn't grade behavior by magnitude. It reads signal. And every signal carries a message. This is who I am. This is what I normalize. This is the timeline I choose. Most people think habits are just routines. Wake up early. Drink water. Send the email. Go to the gym. These are fine, but they are not what shifts your quantum field. What shifts your field are habits encoded with frequency. These are what we call quantum habits, subtle behaviors that tell the universe with absolute clarity that you are already the version of you who lives in wealth, ease, trust, and energetic precision. Let's strip this down. Quantum habits are not about control. They are about calibration. When your micro-behaviors reflect abundance, even in seemingly insignificant moments, you begin emitting a frequency that stabilizes your wealth identity. The field then mirrors that identity with increasing accuracy. These habits are not performative. They are energetic. And they begin with intention. Let's go to the core principle. The way you do anything is the way you signal everything. When you rush through tasks, react from urgency, or make impulsive financial decisions from fear, you're reinforcing a state of incoherence. When you act from sovereignty, even in the smallest choice, you reinforce coherence. And coherence is what the field responds to. So let's define what wealth-aligned habits actually look like. 1. Language habits. Every word you speak sends a frequency. Complaining about bills, mocking wealthy people, or casually saying things like, I'm broke, even in jest, sends a direct instruction to your subconscious and your field. Your nervous system hears it. Your energy responds. Your field locks it in. Start speaking with alignment. Replace passive, scarcity-based phrases with sovereign language that reflects personal agency and wealth identity. Examples: that's not a priority for me right now, instead of, I can't afford it. I'm calibrating to a higher standard, instead of, it's not working. I choose differently instead of, I'm failing. This isn't about fake positivity. It's about frequency integrity. 2. Decision habits. Every decision carries signal weight. When you make decisions from fear, you validate the idea that fear is the highest authority. When you make them from clarity, even if it's uncomfortable, you reinforce sovereignty. Quantum wealth identities normalize decisive action. Not rushed, not panicked, decisive. This might look like raising your rates because your value has increased, investing in something that stretches your capacity, saying no to a client who doesn't respect your boundaries, choosing rest when the old you would have chosen over work. Every yes and every no is a vote, not just for outcomes but for identity. 3. Physical habits. How you hold your body is not just about posture. It's a broadcast. Are you slouching through your day, breathing shallow, and shrinking into the background? Or are you upright, intentional, and grounded? Your physiology doesn't just reflect your state, it creates your state. Wealth-aligned individuals move with presence. They take up space not aggressively, but with calm certainty. They breathe deeply. They walk with rhythm. They sit with poise. This is not about performance. It's about physical coherence. And coherence is magnetic. 4. Financial habits. How you treat your money reveals your frequency. Do you look at your accounts daily with gratitude and clarity? Or do you avoid your finances until stress forces you to engage? Do you spend impulsively out of emotional lack? Or with awareness and calm agency? Do you hoard money out of fear of loss? Or circulate it with trust? Wealth calibration requires you to normalize healthy money movement, not from rules but from resonance. You don't need perfect spreadsheets. You need presence. Being present with your money increases trust, and trust stabilizes flow. 5. Environment habits. Your space reflects your frequency. Period. If your physical or digital environments are chaotic, outdated, or filled with low-frequency reminders, you're reinforcing incoherence. Quantum habits include clearing clutter to eliminate energetic stagnation, updating your calendar to reflect what matters most, organizing your digital space so it reflects clarity, choosing beauty, order, and intentionality wherever possible. Your environment doesn't have to be expensive, but it must be coded for the identity you're stabilizing. Now here's the most important part. These microsignals compound. One habit won't shift your field. But when you live in alignment consistently, when every action becomes a tiny vote for the wealthy version of you, the field recalibrates. Timelines begin resolving more quickly. Opportunities appear without force. Money starts flowing through channels you didn't expect. Not because of magic, but because of micro-precision. This is quantum wealth on autopilot. It's not about doing more. It's about doing with more clarity. You're not just building new habits. You're transmitting a new identity. And that identity speaks louder than any strategy. Next, we will bring this to your surroundings and show you how to engineer your reality to echo and amplify your abundance signal. Your environment is your external nervous system. Every space you occupy, physical, digital, emotional, social, is either reinforcing your wealth identity or pulling you back into contraction. And most people have no idea how much signal distortion their environment creates. You can rewire your brain, tune your frequency, hold elevated emotional states, and still find yourself regressing. Why? Because your environment is coded for your old self. It's reinforcing a past identity through subtle, persistent cues. Visual noise, outdated relationships, disorganized spaces, low-frequency messaging, overstimulation, understimulation, scarcity echoes. And the field reads all of it. You cannot hold a quantum wealth frequency in a reality that contradicts it at every turn. That's why the next level of abundance isn't mental, it's spatial. You must engineer your reality to reflect the version of you who's already abundant. Let's make this tactical. Reality engineering begins with a core principle. Form follows frequency. The external must match the internal. Otherwise, it creates friction, and friction lowers signal stability. Start with your physical space. Look around your home, your desk, your workspace. Does it reflect your next-level identity or your survival self? Indicators of contraction include piles of ignored papers or bills, disorganization that leads to confusion, decor that no longer resonates, broken items you keep just in case, spaces that trigger shame, guilt, or low-energy memory. Each of these is a static charge on your field. Begin removing them not out of duty, but out of clarity. You are clearing the echoes of timelines you no longer occupy. Replace them with cues that speak to wealth. Again, this isn't about luxury. It's about frequency. Add cues that reinforce beauty, simplicity, order, expansion, personal power, future vision. Even a small item, positioned with intention, becomes a symbol. That symbol becomes a signal. That signal informs your subconscious who you are and what you expect. Next, shift your digital environment. Look at your desktop, folders, emails, and phone apps. Are they clean, intentional, and aligned, or chaotic and reactive? You're touching this environment hundreds of times a day. If it's filled with low-value content, notifications, scarcity ads, and digital clutter, your frequency suffers. Unsubscribe, delete, unfollow, reframe. Curate a digital space that uplifts, reflects, and affirms your wealth state. Next, evaluate your emotional environment. This includes the people you interact with, the conversations you normalize, and the stories you tell. You don't need to exile people, but you do need to take inventory. Who do you shrink around? Who brings out your highest voice? Which conversations lift your signal? Which ones drain it? Start choosing proximity with precision. Create boundaries not to reject others, but to protect your field. Your emotional bandwidth is a finite resource. Use it to stabilize your identity, not subsidize others' incoherence. Lastly, design for future reinforcement. Reality engineering is not a one-time cleanup. It's a continuous process of alignment. Create triggers in your space that act as signal amplifiers. A note on your mirror that reminds you of your identity. A screensaver that encodes your highest vision. A weekly ritual that anchors your wealth frequency. A playlist, fragrance, or image that emotionally calibrates your nervous system. These are not fluff. They are frequency tools. They help keep you locked into your chosen identity, even when life gets loud. Remember, your environment is always programming you. You can let it run on default, shaped by external noise and outdated patterns. Or you can architect it intentionally, turning every corner of your reality into a reinforcement chamber for abundance. This is not aesthetic. It's energetic. And when your environment mirrors your inner wealth, the feedback loop becomes exponential. You think with clarity. You feel with trust. You act with precision. You receive with ease. Next, we will bring all pieces together, activating full integration of your quantum wealth identity so the new timeline isn't something you chase, but something you live. Becoming wealthy isn't the real goal. Becoming the version of you who holds wealth effortlessly, that's the game. You've restructured your identity. You've recalibrated your signal. You've synchronized with the quantum field. You've selected your timeline. You've practiced emotional alchemy. You've stabilized coherence. You've engineered your environment. Now comes the most powerful layer of all, integration. Integration is the collapse point, the final move from doing the work to being the frequency. It's where transformation becomes embodiment, where theory becomes structure, where every layer of the self, mental, emotional, physical, and energetic, becomes one signal. This is not a motivational high. It's not a breakthrough moment. It's the installation of a new default identity that no longer flinches under pressure, doubts its value, or negotiates with scarcity. It simply exists in wealth as its natural state. Let's build this together. Integration begins by eliminating the distance between who you think you are and who you truly are. Every time you refer to your wealthy self as someday, you create delay. Every time you act as if that version of you is still becoming, you reinforce the gap. But when you integrate, that gap dissolves. You are no longer aspiring. You are actualizing. And that actualization becomes permanent when your baseline shifts. This is where most people relapse, right at the edge of breakthrough. They've done the internal work, but they're still operating as if transformation is conditional. I'll feel abundant when the money lands. I'll feel powerful when the launch succeeds. I'll feel aligned when the results show up. That model keeps the outcome upstream, traps you in delay. It tells the quantum field, I am not that version yet. So the field agrees. Integration flips the sequence. You don't wait for reality to catch up. You stabilize as the version of you who has already resolved the timeline. And that signal becomes so unwavering that reality must bend around it. This is how the identity becomes encoded. Let's take this further. Integration means your thoughts no longer need constant surveillance. They self-correct. You don't spiral when a bill arrives. You breathe, center, and return to sufficiency. You don't chase the next strategy when you feel doubt. You reinforce the structure that already works. You don't swing between high and low frequencies. You hold. That holding becomes your new nervous system baseline. Not effort, not hype, stillness. You move slower, but each move carries more precision. You speak less, but each word carries more power. You act deliberately, but each action carries exponential signal. Because the field no longer sees fragmentation. It sees congruence. Your identity, behavior, emotion, and environment are no longer negotiating. They are aligned. This is what makes abundance predictable. Let's operationalize this. To lock in your wealth identity, you must complete 3 final installations. 1. Decision fidelity. This is the commitment to never betray your wealth self for temporary relief. When you choose avoidance over alignment. When you shrink to be accepted. When you act from fear to be safe. You reinforce the timeline you've already outgrown. Integration means fidelity to your identity, especially under pressure. You stop making decisions based on comfort. You make them based on calibration. You ask, what would the version of me who already has it do? Then you do that, without hesitation, without waiting for approval. Every time you honor that version, you install the new script. 2. State normalization. You're not trying to get into state anymore. You live there. Sufficiency is your ground. Gratitude is your anchor. Trust is your default. Certainty is your edge. When emotional states become normalized, they no longer feel like effort. They feel like home. That's the point. Making abundance so familiar that anything else feels foreign. This isn't about faking happiness. It's about refining stability. You are training your body to treat wealth like oxygen. Always present. Always replenished. Never questioned. 3. Feedback alchemy. In integration, you stop fearing contrast. Uncomfortable moments don't mean you've regressed. They're invitations. Feedback from the field. Data for alignment. Your signal gets tested not to punish you but to sharpen you. A launch fails? Adjust with clarity. Someone doubts you? Reconfirm your self-perception. An old trigger arises? Use it as signal upgrade practice. You stop personalizing friction. You start decoding it. This is mastery, and mastery doesn't flinch. The final calibration is this. You stop needing your outer world to validate your inner world. You don't ask the field for proof. You are the proof. And when you stand in that knowing long enough, the field complies. Clients appear. Opportunities accelerate. Numbers rise. Ease returns. But you're no longer shaken by the dance. You're the one leading it. You've become the source. From this space, abundance isn't a goal. It's your home frequency. It's where you live. It's who you are. It's what you stabilize without question. Next, we close this chapter and this activation by crystallizing everything you've embodied into a clear, coded reminder of your new architecture. The real breakthrough was never the money. It was the return to the version of you who always knew how to access it. You've moved through the entire framework of quantum wealth activation, not as theory but as structure. You've rebuilt the architecture of identity, not from dreams, but from precision. You are no longer a seeker. You are the field. You are the signal. You are the resolution point. This isn't inspiration. This is transmission. Let's recap what you've installed. You no longer operate from the illusion that wealth must be earned through effort alone. You've seen that frequency is the true currency. You've identified the quantum field as the canvas of all probability and claimed your role as observer, participant, and selector. You've decoded money as a responsive frequency, not a neutral object, and corrected your resonance to stop repelling what's already yours. You've collapsed the wave by stabilizing your identity, overriding the false programs that distorted your access to wealth timelines. You've replaced outdated manifestation myths with a framework of embodied coherence, aligned behavior, and emotional trust. You've restructured your brain and nervous system to expect abundance, rewriting the pathways that once recycled lack. You've turned low-frequency emotions into fuel, converting scarcity into clarity and fear into signal strength. You've stopped waiting to become and started selecting, living from the timeline where abundance is the norm. You've reinforced your coherence with resonance lock, staying tuned through pressure, distraction, and chaos. You've installed quantum habits, microsignals of power, that tell the field who you are in every breath. You've redesigned your environment to reflect your wealth identity, removing the static that once pulled you out of alignment. You've integrated everything, mentally, emotionally, physically, and energetically. So your new self isn't an idea. It's your home frequency. And now, there's only one instruction left. Hold the line. Hold the tone. Hold the posture. Hold the emotional calibration. Hold the behavioral precision. Hold the decision clarity. Hold the identity code. Not with effort, with embodiment. You are not the student anymore. You are the tuning fork. The world will respond. The field will mirror. The timelines will collapse into form. The wealth will circulate. The support will arrive. The results will scale. The energy will stabilize. But none of it will surprise you because now you expect it. You've trained your system to receive without shock. You've trained your mind to allow without self-sabotage. You've trained your identity to expand without contraction. This is the quantum wealth code. It's not taught. It's remembered. And now that it's remembered, you cannot unknow it. You don't need more tools. You don't need new strategies. You don't need extra proof. You need one thing only: trust in your own resonance. Because the field doesn't lie. And your signal is no longer distorted. It's pure. It's stable. It's resolved. So now you live it. Not tomorrow. Not when it's perfect. Now. Because you are already it. And it's already done.